So, hello. Today, we're going to talk about the impact of the foreign direct investment towards the SME's development. So here is a group list, and the reason why we're choosing this topic is because oftentimes we're looking into, when we talk about foreign direct investment, we're looking into some more macro skills. So how those FDIs affect the development of in a macroeconomic skills. But today we are looking into more details that how those foreign direct investment are going to benefit those SME, or are they really beneficial to the small and medium-sized enterprises? So I'm here and I'm going to talk about some introduction about the presentation. So first of all, we from the article, we all believe that FDI is very important to the international economic integration because it helps to generate a linkage between different economies. And through this linkage, oftentimes it helps to generate the technology transfer, and we're going to talk into more details later. And also it helps to promote the domestic product of the economy that is receiving those FDI into the international market. But more importantly, FDI serves as a very vital source of investment. It generates capital and resources to the country receiving those FDI. So it helps the economic development there, and that's why it's very important to the international economic integration there. And in the following discussion, we are going to talk more about two effects in general. So first one will be the host country effect, that the inflow of FDI provides different kinds of economical benefits to the host countries. So what are those effects, and more importantly, instead of just looking into macroeconomic skills, how are they going to affect the development of SMEs? Are they really bringing any benefit to them? And also the spillover effect that oftentimes the FDI brings a lot of externality to the economy. But how those externality going to be translated into the effect towards SME will be the focus of the following discussion. So back to the basics. So what is FDI? We're talking about, of course, a direct investment that generates additional capital, productivity capacity, oftentimes also bring technology transfer and managerial skill instead of just a passive portfolio investment here. So from traditional theory of international trade, oftentimes the effect of FDI is just considered as to reduce the gap between the marginal products of capital and of labor. And from a neoclassical model, that is the FDI provides more capital stock, and those capital stock are going to generate more economic growth. But we believe there's always more, especially when we're talking about SMEs here. So the entry of the FDI often comes with the entry of and the MNC towards the host country, and because those MNC should be possessing advanced technology and also better managerial skills and standards there. So those entry are going to provide access of those important resources for the local firms and also the local economies. And also the entry of MNC will, because they cannot do all the business on their own, so oftentimes they rely on the local firms and suppliers to help them. And from there's a linkage generated. And also the entry of the FNC will require them to hire some local workers there, and then those local workers will eventually become a very experienced workers. So there will be increase of quality of human resources there. And so all in all, all those, when we combine all those things together, it will be resulting at the FDI resulting in an increase of productivity and also competitiveness of the local firms. But is it really real to us, the SMEs, we're going to talk about later? But more importantly, the FDI will generate some crowd-in effect of the domestic investment activities. So with more and more FDI, we believe that there is the local economy will be benefit even more. But are they really real towards the SMEs in local economies? So we all know that FDI should be beneficial to the macroeconomic development, but oftentimes we need data to support the conclusion that those FDI is directly impacting the development of SME in the host country. But with the help of more data available in developing countries in a longer time frame, it allows us to perform more detailed empirical method to confirm our conclusion here. And by in this article, by the theoretical and also studying many theoretical and empirical literatures, we focus on whether the productivity effect and spillover effects are really bringing the good impacts towards the SMEs. So in the following session, I'm going to pass to my teammates and they will going to talk into more details.
Hello everyone, my name is Zhuni. For this part, I will introduce the theory behind the study. It's mainly about the types of FDI and how these types of FDI operate and make profits. According to OECD definition of FDI in 2014, broadly FDI includes mergers and acquisitions, building new facilities, reinvesting profits earned from overseas operations, and inter-company loans. In a narrow sense, FDI refers to building new facilities. According to GDP equations, where I is domestic investment plus foreign investment, FDI is defined as the net inflows of investment to acquire a lasting management interest in enterprises operating in economy other than that of the investor. So there are two types of FDI. It's inward and outward, involve participation in management, joint venture, transfer to technology and expertise. Traditionally, FDI is also divided into horizontal FDI and vertical FDI. Horizontal FDI occurs when multinational operates roughly have the same production process in home and host country, with the headquarters in home country and where each plant provides products for its local market. So horizontal FDI may act as substitute for exporting and a desire to be close to the foreign markets and thereby avoiding transportation costs and other trade barriers. The basic idea behind the analysis of vertical FDI is that a production process consists of multiple stages with different input requirements. If import prices varies across different countries, it becomes profitable for the firm to split the production chain. If production process has different import requirements, for example, process like assembly needs cheap labor and headquarter activities needs technology and skilled labor. Through the differences in the prices of these different kinds of input between countries, it generally becomes cost effective to separate the production chain. Thus, the main motivation for vertical FDI is to lower the cost of the production. And furthermore, vertical FDI can be distinguished into backward and forward vertical FDI based on where all various kind of input are coming from. In the case of backward vertical FDI, foreign affiliates act as supplies of import for parent firm. This type of investments can typically be seen in primary sections like mining, oil, and agriculture. Consequently, backward vertical FDI is also referred to as resource-seeking FDI. In the case of the forward vertical FDI, the parent countries export their the products to a foreign affiliate for further production, where intermediate or final products are sent back to home country or even export to a third country. Besides this, all this satisfaction, the United Nations Commission on Trade Development identify 4 different types of FDI. These are listed below with key determinants. And that's all. Thank you for listening. Let's welcome my teammate Wang Ziwei to introduce the next part of our study.
The third part is spillover effects of foreign direct investment on small and medium enterprises. There are 2 types of indirect effects of FDI on economic growth. The first, productivity spillovers, often take place when the entry of multinational corporations in the host country leads to productivity or efficiency benefits in the local firms. Second, market access spillovers often take place when the entry of multinational firms improves the access to export markets for local firms. There are 4 channels of spillover effects. First, through the creation of linkage with foreign and domestic firms, becoming either suppliers or customers. Second, through the movement of experienced workers from foreign to local firms. And the entry of multinational corporations may also increase competition and force domestic firms to imitate and innovate. Last, the firm-specific advantage may result in technology transfer from the parent firm to its affiliates in the host country. When spillover effects take place, there are some responses of the host country. First, the governments across the world have lowered various entry barriers and opened up new sectors to foreign investment. They may provide various forms of investment incentives, fiscal incentives such as tax holidays and lower taxes for foreign investors, financial incentives such as grants and preferential loans to multinational corporations, and measures like market preferences, infrastructure, and even monopoly rights. Last, multinational corporations have established global or regional production bases. Then we will focus on FDI productivity spillovers. We define FDI productivity spillovers as the increase on productivity or efficiency of the host country's local firms as a consequence of the entry or presence of a multinational enterprise affiliate, where the multinational enterprise cannot internalize the full value of these benefits. There are 5 impacts of FDI on productivity of host country. First, it may contribute to efficiency by breaking supply bottlenecks. Second, it may introduce new know-how by demonstrating new technologies and training workers. And it either breaks down monopolies and stimulates competition and efficiency, or create a more monopolistic industry structure, and transfer techniques for inventory and quality control and standardization to the local suppliers and distribution channels. Last, force local firms to increase their managerial efforts or to adopt some of the marketing techniques. As to corporations, there are some impacts of FDI on the productivity. First, spillover may take place through the movement of workers when well-trained employees of foreign firms establish their own firms or take employment in domestically owned firms. Second, the presence of multinationals may lead to the spread of information on new technology and production processes. And through linkage with local firms, foreign affiliates may enhance the production efficiency of the host country. Last, the entrance of foreign firms may increase competition and thereby force local firms to be more productive and innovative. Then I'll introduce a literature review. It has 4 parts: cross-section, industrial level studies, panel data, industrial level studies, firm level studies, panel data, firm level studies. It is a little long, so I'll just introduce some important opinions. Some scholars found positive spillovers, but conditional on the absorptive capacity of the host country. A research used the semi-parametric estimation method to deal with the influence that productivity shocks may cause on the endogeneity of the firm's input selection. Atkin and Harrison found the positive productivity effects originate mainly from joint ventures. Taylor and Apple estimated that FDI spillovers account for about 14% of productivity growth of US firms. And my part is over. Thanks for listening.
Thank you. And now on to part 4. The conclusion by Blaine Sapelli. This paper surveys a wide range of literature on the impact of foreign direct investment on productivity spillovers. The overall conclusion of the authors is that FDI generally has positive effects on the productivity of small and medium enterprises in the host country. This is supported by the empirical data gathered and analyzed in the paper, which we went over in part 3. Why does this happen? The authors propose that FDI is an integral part of many countries' development strategies. Their strategies for taking in foreign direct investment are created by policies that are carefully managed to ensure that inward flows of capital, labor, technology, and everything else associated with FDI produce positive spillover effects for domestic firms. Productivity spillover effects are transmitted from the established foreign producer to local firms, which boosts their competitiveness and performance through a number of mechanisms. Developing countries should therefore craft their policies to promote FDI inflows. However, not all foreign direct investment is equal. As in part 2, we talked about how there are different forms of FDI. So, a high volume of FDI inflows is not their only concern. It's a necessary but not sufficient condition. The form of foreign direct investment should prioritize investment that maximize positive spillover effects. In terms of policy creation, this is a balancing act. If you capture all of the gains, no one is going to invest in your country. But if you allow foreign companies to simply set all of the rules and invest as they want, you may not get many spillover effects at all. It's a balancing act. In addition to the productivity spillover effects that the literature goes over, it also suggests that FDI presence may also improve the infrastructure, the quality of labor force, and research and development activities of domestic firms, which would have long-term positive effects, but would not show up in productivity measures. The presence of foreign firms may also have positive effects on the regulatory environment in the host country. Overall, FDI appears to create a variety of positive externalities. However, not all of these are easily measured. The article suggests that future research can survey the effects of regulatory changes that occur as a result of FDI. Thank you very much.